Going. Thank you so much for coming along this afternoon to listen to our two speakers, and I'm delighted to welcome them to our talk. They're going to be talking about something that's incredibly important, which is our health and well-being. Sorry, I'm just going to put that back up. Our health and well-being, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling very January at the moment. January is a terrible month, I always think. It's the darkest time of the year. It's the time of the year that I feel at my lowest ebb in so many ways, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and in every way, really. So I think we're talking about something very important today, which is how we can regain, retain, and generally feel a heck of a lot better. So I'd like to introduce you to Marishka Dunlop and also Christie Lewis, who is actually a part-time NHS GP, and she also has a passion for a lot of health, and she's a health and life coach. But I'm going to come to Marishka first, and I just want you to start by telling us a little bit about your company, which is called Life Armour, how and why you started it, and what it's all about, really.
Yeah, thanks for having us here today, Trish. So Life Armour is an award-winning supplement brand, and I created it a couple of years ago because I noticed how the impact of modern life was impacting my own health and well-being. So I am a full-time working mum, and I was finding that the pressures of juggling everything was incredibly overwhelming, but not just for myself, but for so many of the women that I spoke to. Not all of them had children, but lots of people talked about how just the pace of modern life and the demands that are on our time was really taking its toll. And when I went to the supplement category to support my own well-being, I found it really confusing to shop. Quite often I didn't know what the ingredient was on the front of the pack, let alone know what it did. And when I started to dig a bit more, I was looking at the ingredient list and I found that quality wasn't always a given. And I'd spent 18 years developing skincare products for some of the big names that many people will know. And it shocked me that quality wasn't always first and foremost of the list when it's something that you ingest into your body. And so Life Armour is a range of supplements, predominantly liquids and a few capsules, that contain active and effective ingredients that people can really feel the difference. And we try and make them really easy to shop as well. So what they say on the fronts of the packs is what they do, essentially. So we try and take a lot of the confusion out as well.
That all sounds wonderful. Exactly what I want to hear, really, in terms of taking the confusion out, because I do feel often very confused about what I should even think about in terms of supplementing my normal diet, which I think of as quite good. Can I come to you, Christie? Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself as well, and how you came to be involved in Life Armour.
Yep, of course. So hi everyone. So I'm Christie, I'm an NHS GP and I'm working in a busy practice in West London. I'm also a private health and life coach, and I'm a first-time mum to an 11-month-old little girl. So my story really is that I reached the point of burnout a few years ago when I just didn't have a healthy work-life balance, and I just became mentally and physically exhausted. So what happened was I just took some time out. I realized the importance of finding the right balance in your life, and I really found my passion in helping others avoid reaching burnout through coaching. And so that's what I do now. And what I do is I focus on the key areas of health. So the really important things that we all know about: sleep, stress, nutrition, exercise, self-care, and happiness. And I really do feel that if you have a good balance in those areas, then your health and well-being is going to be optimized as a result. And also, being a first-time mum, I think it's made me realize even more how important it is to get that balance right. And Marishka and I actually met each other, quite a few years ago now. And we just realized that we just had the same goal in what we were trying to achieve. So we've been working together for a few years now, and it's just lovely because we work together nicely in what we bring for people. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And I'll come back to Marishka. Tell us, do you think supplements are something that we all need and we need them every day, or are they things that we need at certain times in our lives for a period because something's going on and we need a bit of extra support? So how would you see supplements fitting into our lives?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So something like vitamin D, Public Health England recommend that we all supplement with vitamin D between the months of October and the end of March. And that's because we are not exposed to sunlight living in the UK, unfortunately, during those darker wintry months. And sunlight synthesis on the skin is the best way for the body to absorb vitamin D. So that is a vitamin that I would say is really a winter essential. And for many people, and Christie can talk to this probably more accurately than myself, but many people, you know, we're spending more time indoors over the last few years, it would be fair to say. Actually, vitamin D other times of the year can also help as well, because if you've just come out of a long dark winter, if you stop taking it immediately, you want to be making sure that you're just keeping those levels topped up. And then you know, I think supplements are very personal to different people. So for myself, for example, I know that magnesium is a key nutrient that I need, and that is because I live a very busy life, and my time is pressurized in lots of different ways. And when you feel stressed and overwhelmed, your cortisol levels can peak, and that immediately starts to impact the magnesium that you have in your body. And it just becomes a vicious cycle of, if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, it depletes your magnesium, and then you sort of come back around to feeling stressed. And so I take Super Me, our capsules, every day to keep that magnesium level topped up. So, but like I said, it is a very personal experience. So I would say that vitamin D absolutely is an essential. And then for each individual, it depends what their personal concerns are.
It's really interesting that you should first mention vitamin D, because I've been quite a skeptic around supplements. I'll be completely honest with you. So that's why I was so interested to talk to you. But this year, for the first time ever, I started taking vitamin D supplements about a month or so ago. And I really I'd read a lot of different articles about it. I really got that it was important that you are likely to be deficient in vitamin D in the winter in this country, and you can't make it yourself. You get it from, the sun going out in the light and the sun. So I think that's really, really interesting. I'd like to know what's different about your approach. Sell me the idea that life supplements are different and better.
Sure. So there's a couple of things. I think first and foremost, look at the ingredient lists. When I first started looking to support my own well-being and I bought some products, I then noticed that the first couple of ingredients on the list were fillers and bulking agents. And for me, it really didn't make sense that something that I'm ingesting, there was no need for that. They weren't serving a purpose. They were essentially filling up an empty space in the capsule. Tablets, by their very nature, need fillers and bulking agents to hold the tablet together. That is what holds the tablet together. And what the approach we take is the ingredients we use are there for a reason. So we're free from fillers, free from bulking agents. All of our ingredients are in at active levels, and predominantly most of our products are in liquid format. Now, liquids are proven to be readily absorbed by the system, and they start to work immediately, and therefore they're not having to be broken down. Your body is doing no work to break them down because they are a liquid. They get absorbed and start to work. Also, that means that they are fast acting and they're quite convenient as well. So a lot of people, especially as we get older, might be on certain medications, for example, an HRT is one example, or, just different medications to support our health. And what our community tell us time and time again is they find the liquids so easy to take, and it's a joy to have something that isn't another tablet to take and something that's difficult to swallow.
Okay, that's interesting. Do those people who are listening and watching this, do put your questions, if you've got individual questions for your personal, health and the way that you would like to support your body, put those into the chat function, and we will come back to you later to ask those questions of both Marishka and Christie. Did you start with a small range, or did you start with something very specific that you thought was essential for people? Tell us how you got going, and you then developed it.
So the initial idea was around about the fact that stress impacts us. So I started with a range of, so how does stress impact us? It impacts our sleep. first and foremost, and we can toss and turn at night. So there was a product for sleep. Super Me was part of the original lineup, and that's because magnesium is so effective at helping with feelings of stress and overwhelm. And we have a product called Drops of Balance, which is another liquid which helps just restore a sense of calm and balance. And we had our Recharge Focus capsules. So we started with 2 capsules and 2 liquids. And now, gosh, we've got I think we've got 5 liquids in total. And we've also launched some herbal teas on the side. So really, you know yourself, Trish, because you've launched your own business. I started with a very tight assortment of 4 products, and I wanted to learn from the community about what it was that they liked and what they wanted to see more of. So very quickly after those initial 4, we launched 2 products to support immune health. So we've got Drops of Immunity Plus, which has high levels of vitamin C in it, and ingredients like echinacea and elderberry that are great to support respiratory health and the normal function of the immune system. And we also have a vitamin D product in a liquid as well. So predominantly now we are growing our liquids business very quickly because that's what our community are asking for. And then at the end of last year, people were telling us that energy was a real issue for them. And so we launched our Drops of Vitality product. And Drops of Vitality contains vitamin B6 and B12, which contributes to the reduction of tiredness and fatigue. And it's also got B5 in there, which contributes to the normal release of energy in the body. So we design all of our products to work synergistically together. And we work with experts such as Christie. We work with a nutritionist and a leading medical herbalist to ensure that there are synergies through using products together. And we have something called a supplement selector on our website where people can put in their core concerns of where they feel they need support, and it will give a tailored recommendation. So sometimes people say, gosh, you're recommending me quite a lot of your range. And that's because probably people have said, oh, I struggle with my sleep, I struggle with energy. But over time, as you bring these into your daily routine, you will start to feel the benefits very quickly.
And can I ask you about the way that you source these ingredients? So are these known sort of things out there in the natural world that you're looking to create into a form that's easily absorbable by the body? There are certain sort of known remedies that have been known for a long time.
Yes,
really help. So again, how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So I am a really big believer in the efficaciousness of not only vitamins and minerals, but plant extracts and the role that they have played. Now, like I said, I had a career previous to this creating innovation for skincare brands, so I was very involved in looking at those ingredients. And I still am today as we formulate these products, but I have a team behind me that are much more expert than me. So whilst I do have an innovation background, I work with the scientists at Christie and a nutritionist and a medical herbalist, and they will advise as well about the role different ingredients play and the interaction of them. So you'll never see from our brand, you won't just see a vitamin B12 product, for example, because we believe, and the research that we've done shows that the synergistic blend of the vitamins and the plant extracts can bring a greater benefit. So an example is in our Super Me capsules, actually, we use something called KSM 66 ashwagandha, and that is a type of ashwagandha that has extensive clinical studies around so many different things in terms of reduction of stress and anxiety, increasing energy, just to name a couple of them. And they can't get that in a liquid format, and that's why we have them in a capsule format combined with the magnesium in at a high level for it to be effective. And that's the same for all the blends that we use. We use a blend like our vitamin D, for example. We combine that with vitamin K2 because that aids the absorption of calcium. And then we also then combine that with some adaptogenic mushrooms that have great data with immune support as well, and inulin, which is a prebiotic. So we are always working to try and bring something that's different to the market, not just a plain, simple one ingredient solution.
Okay, I find all that absolutely fascinating. And ashwagandha, I think I've got it right. You mentioned that. So where is that found? Is it growing out there somewhere in a dark, deep forest somewhere in the back of beyond? What is that?
Yeah. Do you want me to? Yeah, Christie, do you want to answer that?
Christie.
Yeah, of course. So it's actually really interesting. It's been around for thousands of years. It's actually used in Ayurvedic medicine, and it's the most widely studied adaptogen. Actually, it's a fun fact. Its literal meaning is smells of horse, because apparently the herb itself smells of horse. But also it's supposed to give you the strength and vitality of a horse if you take it. So it's the most well-studied adaptogen, as Marishka was saying, and it's the thing about adaptogens is that they generally are herbs or plants or mushrooms that grow in harsh conditions, and they contain plant chemicals that actually are able to withstand these harsh conditions. So anyway, going back to ashwagandha, there was a study that was done recently, a few years ago, that looked at its effect on chronic stress. And they split the two groups into either taking the ashwagandha or not taking the ashwagandha, so taking a placebo. And the treatment group took the 300 milligrams of this KSM 66 ashwagandha, took it twice a day for 8 weeks, and the results were amazing. They did a stress score before they took the ashwagandha and a stress score after taking the ashwagandha for the 8 weeks, and their stress score was reduced by 72%. And they also took blood cortisol levels, so cortisol being our main stress hormone. And they actually measured that stress hormone before and after, and there was a 28% reduction in their cortisol levels after taking the ashwagandha. So there are lots of studies out there to show that actually it really does help to reduce our stress. And obviously we don't want stress and we don't want cortisol around our bodies, because it causes many problems in our bodies. And so something like ashwagandha could improve the effect of stress on our bodies.
I've got another question for you, Christie. In your practice as a GP, how would you know if somebody came through the door that they were suffering from some kind of deficiency, or that they needed some kind of support via a supplement? That's something that really bothers me, because I think I generally feel well a lot of the time. I sleep quite well. I also get quite anxious about various things, etc., etc., etc. But they're never things that I've once or twice they've been bad enough for me to go to my GP, but a lot of it I just put up with it because I think it's just normal life, it's every day, get on with it. How, when somebody walks through your door and you listen to them, when do you think to yourself, this person could do with some whatever it is that Life Armour offers? So how do you know that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Often the patient or person knows their body quite well, and they might come to me with complaints of, I just feel really tired, or I can't remember something that well, I feel a bit foggy in the head, or I'm just not sleeping well, or I'm getting sort of achy joints. And there's lots of or headaches, for example. Lots of different people come in with different complaints. But I have to admit that if you say to yourself, actually, do you know what? I feel fabulous. I feel great. Generally, that's actually a really good indicator of how you're doing, because often if you are deficient, it will manifest itself in a problem. So it's generally fatigue, so feeling really tired, maybe disturbed sleep, dry skin, cracked lips, aching joints, aching bones. So those are generally the main symptoms that I would see of something like a B vitamin deficiency or a vitamin D deficiency, for example. Twitching muscles, aching muscles could be magnesium. So I generally wait for the person to come in with a complaint, because if you feel great, you wouldn't go to the GP. So generally people come to me for a reason, and that's when I start to pick out the things that I think might be the underlying problem.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it's also very helpful. I'll come back to you again, Marishka. Do you think there are supplements which you've mentioned vitamin D, that we kind of in the winter time, we pretty much, everybody, if they're living in the northern hemisphere, it would be a good idea to take a supplement for vitamin D as a sort of base need. Are there others, do you think, that literally universal?
Yeah, so if you're vegan or vegetarian, then I would, sorry, did you ask me or did you ask Marishka?
I'm going to go back to Marishka to ask.
Oh, sorry.
But she's given the same answer I was just about to come out with, actually. So I was going to say exactly what Christie's saying. If you're eating a plant-based diet, which so many people aren't necessarily fully vegetarian or fully vegan, but so many of us now are adopting much more plant-based diets. Don't underestimate how you may be lacking in certain vitamins, like B vitamins that Christie was just about to say. So I actually adopted a plant-based diet. Well, I'm vegetarian, I'm not vegan. Over a year ago, and something like B vitamins, I was not really a big red meat eater anyway, but that's where you would easily get that. And unless you are eating 3 freshly prepared meals a day, predominantly that the food is from organic sources, there is lots of data out there now to show that the way we have over-farmed over the last 50 years has significantly depleted the nutrients in our food. Now, for my own experience, I do not buy organically, and I am trying to cook much more fresh, but there is also an element of convenience there. Also, B vitamins are water soluble, and therefore they are hard to store in the body. So actually supplementing with something like drops of vitality can really help your energy. And it's interesting, Trish, what you were saying, asking that question about how do you know, if I need something. It's talking about vitamin D as an example in the January blues. Vitamin D can make us feel a little bit low, and a lack of vitamin D, can make us feel a little bit low, a little bit lethargic. And so all of these things are interlinked. As a brand, we would never say that supplementing is the be all and end all. It is one part of a jigsaw that you can do. And, we work with experts across many fields, and Christie's a real advocate of this. It is taking a 360 approach to your health and well-being, finding the things that work for you. Yoga might not be right for you, and running might not be right for you, but the different aspects that are right for you, and then supplementing is one of those aspects that can then support as well.
And is there anything specific to the aging process? I think most of the women on this call are not in their first flush of youth. They're certainly not teenagers. As everybody on this call knows, I'm 74. So as you get older, is there more need for support from supplements, do you think? And if so, what is that likely to be?
Christie, are you okay to answer that one?
Yeah, of course. So as we get older, lots of things do unfortunately happen. So B vitamins, for example, are in higher demand, and as they are water soluble, as Marishka said, you do need to make sure that you're having them on a regular basis. Also, the other thing that happens is, our digestion slows down. So taking things like capsules or tablets can often be harder to process. So liquid supplements are great because they are more easily sort of absorbed in the body. So it kind of bypasses the stomach, which is great. And also, as you get older, your magnesium absorption reduces in the gut as well. And actually our kidneys are very clever. Well, they're actually not that clever. They actually excrete, so get rid of more magnesium than we need really as we get older too. Often our diet is maybe not as big. So we might not actually be taking in as much of the vitamins and minerals that we would want because of because your diet might be slightly smaller, or your portion sizes might be smaller, or actually your taste might have changed, so you don't particularly fancy certain things, and so you might not be getting as much of a varied diet as you might wish. And so actually taking a supplement can be a really good option.
Okay, thanks very much. And just back to Marishka again, what are the sort of restraints on you from the point of view of what you're saying that these supplements can do? Because I know that they're governed, aren't they, by fairly strict codes of, you know, you're not allowed to claim this, that or the other. So is that something that creates problems for you, or you know, how do you get around that?
That's a great question. So I missed the skincare space. Let's say that from a marketing point of view, it is you have to use more technical. As you heard me talk about magnesium contributing to the normal function of the nervous system, you have to use specific terminology if you're advertising. So if I'm having a conversation with you, like we are here, we can elaborate on that and share with you more. On our packaging, it is more straightforward. People talk to me about the brand, you know, not necessarily, especially coming from a skincare background, sort of connecting on an emotional level as much. And that's because you have to be quite, it's not really serious, just very sort of straightforward about what you can say. And we do, and we take that all very seriously. So we ensure that we're using high quality ingredients and we can say what we can say, but we will also try then on that connection point of view to say to people, you know, on our cartons, for example, you know, take a moment to unwind, or sweet dreams, you know, so you still have that aspect. And I think for us, as you know, yourself as a brand founder will know, it is that connection then with the founder and understanding, you know, why the brand has been created and the real passion behind it to create these great products. So yes, it isn't as easy as other areas, but for good reason as well, because there's, you know, lots out there that might be making some quite unfound claims on different things, and that's you know, not an area that we're interested in playing in.
Yeah, it's to get rid of the sort of snake oil salesman, isn't it? Really?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you
so
could say that. Yes,
there to protect us from ridiculous and outrageous claims that can be made for something, which are completely false. You know, so therefore, as you say, but you are using these natural ingredients that have been known about for years, that are, you know, well researched, as Christie said, and also you know, people have been using them locally and knowing that they work really well. I always find that fascinating, that there are throughout the world these communities, and they've got certain plants, certain herbs, certain things that they grow that they know really help and support their health. And that's really what we're talking about here, that you're making those available much more widely to us. So we're going to come to Emily now. I'll come to Emily for the questions that have been put into the chat function.
So first question is, what dose of vitamin D, I suppose, what dose should someone look for?
So the NHS recommends 400 international units, which is quite low. To be honest, the amount in Life Armour's vitamin D and bone health is 1,000 international units, which is a great dose, because you can take it all year round, to be honest. So anything over 400 international units is great. You just don't really want to be taking anything more than 4,000. That's what the NHS recommends, although lots of studies are being done at the moment to suggest you could take more in the fight against many things, including COVID, and I won't go into that, but anyway, there's lots of preliminary studies and stuff out there. So anything over 400 international units is great. 1,000 is perfect.
Great, thank you. And Carol asks, are any of your products suitable for thinning hair?
we don't have anything in the range right now for thinning hair. No, we don't. But it's something we can consider in the future, but not right now.
From your expert knowledge, is if you had this came up in my group, and Carol was actually in my group, so it's something that is of great concern for her, and a great concern to quite a lot of older women, I have to say. It's one of those subjects we have had Philip Kingsley on here talking about what they do, because I think they do have supplements. They also specialists in trichology and stuff. But what would you say from your perspective is a good idea to take if you have got thinning hair? What might support that?
So I guess you need to make sure that you're taking, you're having a good balance in all of this. Is kind of making sure that you're taking a good balanced diet. You need the B vitamins. You need vitamin E, zinc. It's all to be honest, it's all the vitamins that we really need on a daily basis for many other things as well, for healthy skin, for healthy hair, for healthy bones, vitamin D as well. So, it's something that generally we would want to make sure you've got iron as well. So, you know, it's having, I always say, I'm sorry to be boring, but as long as you're having a good, balanced, varied diet, you know, and you are supplementing if you're vegetarian or vegan, and with your B vitamins, then, and iron potentially, then, you know, that is good for hair. So yeah, it's pretty much many of the vitamins and minerals we need for many other things as well, to be honest.
Okay, thank you.
Claudia asks, she says, I am on immunosuppressants, thyroxine. So how do I ensure that a supplement I take doesn't counteract a prescribed medicine?
Yeah, and I was chatting to a couple of ladies in our group, because it's actually very hard, you know, and I can't really give advice on that in terms of specific advice, because the interactions with certain medications, especially if you're taking other medications that could interact, you know, it's virtually impossible to say. But what I would say is, if you are taking a medication, it doesn't mean you can't take a supplement, but I would recommend speaking to either your GP, who could, if they don't know themselves, could speak to someone like Medicines Management, which is a team who can do a little bit more research into the actual medication and the particular supplement that you want to take. I know it's not an easy answer, but unfortunately it's really difficult for me to sort of say, you know, with certain medications, whether there are interactions. But generally, I have to admit that the adaptogens that are used generally are very safe and non-toxic, but you always have to be very careful with any medications you might take, because everyone's different and different people react differently with different things. So unfortunately that's not very specific, but it's the only way I can answer that, really.
Great, thank you. And June asks, what is in the Vitality liquid?
So in our drops of Vitality, we've got vitamin B6, vitamin B12, vitamin B5, and then we've also got ginkgo biloba and maca root in terms of the adaptogenic ingredients that we use. So your B-vits are great, and there's lots of great data around reduction in tiredness and fatigue and the normal release of energy for use in the body. Maca root is a Peruvian ingredient that has historically been used for thousands of years, that enhances libido as well. So it has been used for vitality, hence the name, and libido.
So sort of going on from that, what would you recommend? So Maureen says that her daughter is suffering really badly from burnout at the moment, so much so that her daughter's handed in her notice and has decided to go traveling, but she's got 3 months until she leaves her job. So what would you recommend for burnout specifically?
Yeah, there's so much you can do. So it's all about that magic word, balance. So you need to try and bring those cortisol levels down as much as possible, because when you have these high levels of cortisol, it's going to cause wreak havoc on your hormones and your energy levels, and your immune system and your brain health. So it's really important to find as much balance as possible. So what I would say is take time out to rest when you can. If you're exercising, that's brilliant, because that will really help, but make sure the exercise that you do is more restorative rather than high impact. Think about making sure that you're eating a really nourishing diet, because often when we're stressed, we go for the sugars and the high carbs, and that often causes those sort of spikes in sort of well, it increases your you have the highs and then the sudden lows, and if your mood is not quite there, then you really want to try and keep your blood sugar as balanced as possible. So eating just a really good whole food, unprocessed diet with lots of fruit and vegetables and not too much sugar, which will cause those sort of peaks and troughs, and you know, and saying no to things. Sometimes you know, often we're sort of running that rat race of our 24/7 life, and it's often really good just to say no to things sometimes and not cram our week so full. So, you know, when you've been to work, just don't say yes to everything during the week, and try and just have some relaxing time, and some real self-care. You know, look after yourself, be kind to your body. I think it's important to not forget ourselves, and often we do forget ourselves. So having a nice relaxing bath in the evening, or you know, just doing something that we enjoy and having a laugh, you know, simple things like that are really important to avoid that dreaded burnout.
Thank you. I've just got a couple more quick ones. Sandra asks, are your products available in the US?
We ship internationally. We're not currently sold in any retailers in the US yet, but we do ship internationally.
Great. And Tony asks, if taking the Vitality liquid, how long would it be before one should expect to see the difference?
So that's, I mean, it's very individual. On some of our reviews, you'll see it works for people within sort of 2 weeks, but it depends, you know, how, you know, lacking in energy you are. What I would say is taking it on a regular basis, so making it part of your daily routine. You should see the difference within 2 to 4 weeks.
Thank you, Marishka, and thank you to everybody who's actually joined us this afternoon. I've really found that interesting, and it's certainly given me lots of food for thought, if you'll pardon the slight pun there. So thank you so much, and if you are interested, then do have a look at the website. Tell us what your website is, Marishka.
The website is www.lifearmour.co.uk, and you can also use the code LOOKFAB, all in capitals, so LOOKFAB, and you'll get 15% off any of the Life Armour products.
So that's a wonderful bonus for you if you're interested. So now you know what the website is, and LOOKFAB is the code to use. So again, thank you very much indeed to all of you. Really enjoyed this afternoon, and goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.